Kristen Salome, Al Jazeera.
Thanks. I know this has been a project a long time in the making, and there's been a lot of starts and stops. How confident are you that you have, obviously the ceasefire is a big deal, but how confident are you about the situation on the ground going forward, and the relations with the relevant parties on the ground?
Well, I think, let me speak about the government of Yemen first. They're very, very supportive of the approach. They understand the inevitable consequences, and basically their message to me is, whatever it takes to get it done, let's just get it done. So that's very clear. And that's the same message I get from other countries in the region that might be affected by this. And so they're overall supportive of the issue. But of course, your reference is more towards the authorities in Sana'a. And so let me conclude on that. I think what's important to understand is their perspective and expectations of this, which is to have a permanent replacement vessel in place, or an equivalent capacity. And I think as long as they see that that's moving in that direction, they will be supportive. They understand the environmental consequences, but they have twin objectives. As long as they see the twin objectives being met, I don't expect major problems. I expect minor problems as we go forward. It is a conflict, even with the truce, and security concerns will always be high. We will place somebody in Hodeidah to work with the salvage company to help overcome these kinds of security concerns that may come up, as well as our work in Sana'a. So we'll try to balance things on the ground. The final thing I'll say is I believe we have a strong consensus in Sana'a to move forward with this specific plan. They're the ones that wanted to sign the memorandum of understanding. They're the ones that said, we really want this done. So they were the ones that came to me and said, let's sign this. So I do believe we have a window of opportunity to do it. I'm optimistic, but you'll never know for sure until it's done. But this is the best, I think, option that we've seen so far. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to take a couple questions on the screen. James Reinl, The National. James?
Hi there. Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for the briefing, Mr. Gressly. You said you're going to be doing a fundraising trip around the Gulf next week. Could you tell us which capitals you're going to? And given that some of these capitals are of countries that are essentially in a ceasefire of a war with the Houthis, do you feel that asking them for millions of dollars, some of which is going to be buying a replacement vessel for their military enemy, is going to be a bit of a stretch?
To answer the first part of your question, I'll be going to Riyadh, to Abu Dhabi, Doha, and Kuwait for this particular round. In terms of the second part of your question, I think everybody sees the environmental consequences of inaction and non-funding as the most important aspect. And I have yet to run into any real concern over the concept of a replacement vessel. It's not a military asset, and everybody understands so far that the cost of that vessel is minuscule compared to the potential cost of the 20 billion cleanup that I've mentioned. And that doesn't even touch on the other issues of the impact on livelihoods, et cetera, and shipping. And certainly those countries that would be affected, including Saudi Arabia, see this as extremely important to their own national interests. So I think this is an area where there is a commonality of interest, and if we can keep those commonalities together, I think we will ultimately succeed. Thank you.
Thank you. Abdelhamid?
Thank you, Mr. Gressly. This is Abdelhamid Sayam from the Arabic daily Al-Quds Al-Arabi. I have two questions. First, on the truce. How did you see the Yemeni people receiving the truce? Are they optimistic? Do you see them interacting now with each other in a more peaceful manner? How do they behaving in this month of Ramadan, welcoming the truce? If you can give us some feedback. And my second question about the donors. There are some Gulf states who used to donate very generously, and they either stopped donating completely, or if they chip in, they just give some small money. How do you explain that? We don't understand why they are behaving this way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. On the issue of the truce, of course, it's extremely welcome among the Yemeni people. At 7 years of war, people just want the war to end, and this is the first ray of hope that they've seen in a long time in this regard. So yes, it's very well received, and it's an opportunity that everybody hopes will be fully seized by the parties to come to a lasting peace settlement. On the donor issue, sometimes we had the pledging conference, and yes, you're correct. In the region, nothing was really pledged, but we have seen that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has come forward with 300 million as an initial pledge. We'll continue to discuss for potential additional funding. And we've had other discussions with countries in the Gulf region who've expressed interest in funding during the course of the year. So I think we will see more funding come in. There is a bit of fatigue. The common concern I hear is, humanitarian assistance is not moving us anywhere. But that, unfortunately, is the nature of humanitarian assistance. It's a Band-Aid until a political settlement can be reached. So it's really a question of dealing with the political aspects if you want a way out of the problem of providing continuous humanitarian assistance. But we need to talk through these issues. Sometimes there are questions over the delivery of assistance, and those are legitimate questions to ask. And so we are working much more closely with the countries in the region so that they get more information about how we're managing the assistance on the ground to give them the confidence to continue to provide assistance. And I'm not going to dwell on this very long, but I will say among the various things that we've done to try to build up donor confidence broadly, not just in the Gulf, is that we've been able to carry out for the first time in this conflict a comprehensive set of assessments covering all 333 districts. We were able to negotiate access for that. That gives us for the first time a firm evidence base of the actual humanitarian situation in the country. It's examples like this that I think will help keep the confidence levels required to continue to receive the level of assistance that is necessary in Yemen. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take one more question from the screen. Margaret Bashir, Voice of America. Maggie?
Hi, Mr. Gressly. Thanks so much. It's nice to see you back in the briefing room.
Thanks.
My question is, the GCC countries, they're all oil producers, so have you explored borrowing a vessel from one of them? I don't see why you have to go out and spend all this money when you're dealing with oil-producing countries who all have a stake in cleaning this up. And the other option is, have you spoken to Iran at all? As the patron of the Houthis and a player in this scenario.
On the first part, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry, did I interrupt you?
No, I was just meant for Iran, in other words, since they're also an oil producer, perhaps they have a vessel or something you could use as a holding tank.
We would, of course, welcome an in-kind contribution of a vessel or any other in-kind contributions that would assist. It doesn't really matter to us, and we have put that on the table as well as options, and that'll be a part of the discussions we will continue with, not only in the region but outside the region. And we're also in contact with different maritime associations that may be in a position to influence these kinds of decisions. So yes, that would be something that we would welcome, in fact, because it would simplify a number of things if we were to get something in kind. All member states, including Iran, we are happy and continue to discuss with this issue. There is a strong interest in it, and we continue that engagement. We've done a very broad dissemination of our operational plan to all of the member states in the region. So that they get a clear idea of how this is going to go forward. So we keep that engagement going. When we find something solid to follow up on in terms of contributions, in kind or financial, we will certainly pursue that. I think we'll have a better understanding of where we stand on the financial mobilization after this trip into the region. And we'll see what kind of deficit we have at that point in time and where we need to focus our efforts in the next weeks before the conference in May. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have one more person on the line. Iftikhar Ali from Associated Press of Pakistan. Iftikhar.
Thank you, Steph. Sir, do you have any measures or plans in place to contain the damage should this vessel start leaking or explode or break up?
Sure, that's a good question.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it's a very good question, in fact, because the danger is every day. It won't necessarily wait for the plan to be implemented. Yeah, particularly through UNDP, we've been working to set up contingency plans, both headquartered in Aden as well as in Sana'a in the event of a spill. And a lot of work has gone in to prepare for such a spill. The financial requirements for that, obviously, that's not something we have in hand at this point in time. But the planning for that, it would largely be oriented, I'll be frank, based on technical studies that have been done and given to us. The ability to contain the oil spill is probably not great in that area, given the currents and the nature of the oil itself. It's light and disperses easily. So the focus would probably be on onshore cleanup on the coast of Yemen in particular. And that's our contingency plan, is focused on Yemen. But other countries may have to do the same thing. And I do know that we've been in contact with them. They have their own contingency plans to put in place if the spill were to occur. So that remains a concern for us, but we have good work already well underway in that regard. Also in coordination with OCHA in terms of coordination of support to the area if there were such a spill. But we're working very hard to avoid that scenario. Thank you.
Thank you very much. David, I think you are freed from your duties.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming, and please do keep us posted. You can always be beamed in here from everywhere you are.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, David. Take care. Cheers. I'm going to ask you, excuse me, for 2 seconds.